The big news this week, Jeffrey Pollack departs the XFL as president and CEO. So Ben Fisher from Sports Business Journal reports the XFL is parting ways with league president and CEO Jeffrey Pollack, effective immediately. Sources close to the situation confirm that Pollack's departure has been in the works for quite some time now. This is according to our man Mike Mitchell. It's been in the works for a long time now. At least I've been hearing a couple months, perhaps. XFL owners Redbird Capital Partners have been talks with a potential replacement for Jeffrey Pollack for several weeks now. They have narrowed down their list of candidates and believe the XFL ownership group has zeroed in on a specific candidate. Sources confirm that an announcement should be coming soon on Pollack's replacement. We are going to get our first official XFL announcement coming here soon. I maybe even say this week. People closely associated with the situation believe that Redbird Capital Partners will replace Jeffrey Pollack with someone who holds a different title than he did as president and CEO. The new hire is expected to act as more of a football boss who oversees those aspects of the league. So what's next for the XFL? We don't know what the league rollout date is. Of course, we know Danny and The Rock have been teasing potential upcoming news in their social media channels, and they were in New York Monday ironing out the last deals. I have a feeling that they are basically setting up for what's to come. Everything's been finalized. I think things are being created behind the scenes, and I think things are a go. Jeffrey Pollack's impact on the XFL has been huge. He's been with the league since 2019. He also was he basically was the business side of things. Oliver Luck was the football side of things. Jeffrey brought in the team presidents, the ticket sales people, all of those people. He led that piece for it. Basically, he reported to Vince McMahon, and did his thing. Oliver Luck did his thing and reported to Vince McMahon, and that's basically how the structure of the XFL worked. And it was very successful. Jeffrey Pollack was part of that helped with the sale of the XFL. And that was a huge undertaking with a skeleton crew to be able to pull off, where they've got Redbird Capital, Danny Garcia, and The Rock purchasing the XFL. Basically, and I would assume from the information that they got on the sale of the potential bankruptcy sale of the XFL, I think that gave Fox and NBC kind of an idea of, well, at least Fox said, hey, well, potentially we might not want to buy the XFL and kind of restart that. Maybe it would be better for us to use a different brand, the USFL, and kind of start down our own path in that way, and take a little different approach than potentially what the XFL wanted to do. And that's what we've seen them doing. But they didn't get that idea if it wasn't for the success of the XFL and the success of the bankruptcy filing to show people what's really going on. So with Jeffrey Pollack out, then the question is who is to come in for them. So Jeffrey Pollack, in my view, did a great job with the XFL, and it's a shame to see him go. But sometimes when these leagues or these companies will buy something up, they tend to want to bring in their own people. And it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. Is Jeffrey Pollack going to pop up for the USFL? Or is he more likely just going to take a break? I mean, dude's been working pretty hard since 2019. Maybe it's time to take a little break, but I would certainly say that I would be surprised to see Jeffrey Pollack in some form, involved in some sports thing here in the near future. Now, the question is, who is his pseudo replacement going to be? Who's the guy, which is what everybody's wondering, that's going to run the XFL? Well, our own Mike Mitchell might have an idea about that. So Mike Mitchell put out 3 potential candidates to run the league's operation. With Jeffrey Pollack no longer president and CEO of the XFL, according to sources, we all know the situation that Jeffrey Pollack is out. However, there are remnants of the original XFL staff still there working. New York Guardians president Janet Dutch is currently the league's chief marketing officer by large, and there's still a lot of players that Jeffrey brought in that are still helping out with the current XFL, and who knows what their role will be. I'm hearing that they seem to be happy with them, and they'll continue to stay. It sounds like, from what we're hearing, that it was kind of a mutual thing between Pollack and the XFL. It wasn't like they hated each other or whatever. It was just kind of like different philosophies and moving in a different direction. And this happens all the time with mergers. 95% of the time is that they kind of bring in their own people and they have their own vision, and the rest is history. So the question is, who would the XFL bring in as their chief football officer or whatever? Mike Mitchell goes into the detour about the CFL, and that put things on hold, and they were working with the CFL, seeing if they could do something, and that just kind of didn't work out. A lot of people in the CFL weren't really interested in doing anything with the XFL. I could kind of understand that in some respects. In some respects, I cannot. And they just kind of decided to part ways, and now the XFL is back and kind of focusing on their own business aspect. And so here are 3 names Mike Mitchell has on his list. And this is not just him picking it out of a hat. This is him with research, talking to people. The first up is former Houston Texans GM, Executive Vice President of Football Operations, Rick Smith. And when you heard the term before, he checks all the boxes. That's precisely the resume the former player, coach, executive, general manager Rick Smith has. Smith has even served on the NFL's competition committee. Again, another thing to a notch on the belt, because we know how the XFL has kind of changed things around. He's a former safety and team captain at Purdue, transitions into coaching when his playing days were done, quickly moved from coaching in college ranks at his alma mater to joining the NFL in Denver. Smith went on to win 2 Super Bowl rings as an assistant of coaching defensive backs for the Broncos from 96 and 99. In 2000, he transitioned into Denver's personnel department and became the team's director of pro personnel, position he held with the Broncos through the 2005 season. 2006, he became the youngest general manager in the NFL at the age of 36 when the Houston Texans appointed him the job. Smith served in that role through the 2017 seasons, after which he left to be with his wife, Tiffany, who had been diagnosed with breast cancer. Unfortunately, Tiffany Avery Smith, Rick's wife of 17 years, passed away in 2019. She was only 49 years old. Sad situation, man. That's not too long ago. In 12 seasons as the Texans GM, Smith drafted and acquired some of the franchise's greatest players, notable guys: J.J. Watt, Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, Arian Foster, DeMarco Ryans, Will Fuller, Javion Clowney, A.J. Boy, Mario Williams, Lamar Miller, among others, in totals under Smith's watch. The Texans had 39 Pro Bowl players. Under Smith's leadership, Houston captured 4 AFC South Division titles. He has not been employed by an NFL team since, surprisingly, with that resume, though he has interviewed with jobs with Atlanta, Denver, Jacksonville, and Detroit. Why no one would pick him up, I have no idea. He has a great reputation as a person and as an evaluator of talent. Being in charge of the head of football ops for the entire XFL would be a huge step for Smith in his football journey. There have been many and will be many who shy away from assuming a role at XFL's de facto CFO with the challenges, but very few people there have the background or character that Rick Smith has. He can relate to players, coaches, scouts, execs, because he walked in their shoes. All of them will Rick Smith's next step be in the XFL. The other name out there, former NFL general manager and executive Scott Pioli. He was actually executive of the year, has nearly 3 decades of experience working in the NFL, working with 6 different NFL franchises in multiple positions. He was Belichick's right-hand man in New England, getting to 5 Super Bowls and winning 3 of them. His resume and achievements speak for themselves, and while there's certainly a strong enough qualification to consider for the top football role in the XFL, Pioli's unheralded work in other areas makes him a strong candidate to be a spokesperson and frontman for the leagues. Last couple years, most notably, Pioli, a Northeast native, has worked as a TV analyst for various outlets, including the NFL Network, and offered his expertise in media, but behind the scenes, he has worked very hard towards advocating and advancing diversity and equality. Pioli has been a featured speaker and panelist for private companies and at numerous conferences, including the NFL's Women Career Development, NHL's Advanced Equity Summit, Center on Leadership and Ethics at Duke University's Business School of Business, among others. So he is NCAA honored Scott Pioli as the 2019 Champion of Diversity and Inclusion for his efforts as an advocate for equality in sports. He mentors minority coaching candidates, scouts executives, and sponsors, and provides grants for educational and professional development in football and athletics through multiple endowments for women and HBCU graduates. It's no secret that the XFL ownership group with Danny Garcia and Dwayne Johnson front and center plan on building a league of culture. That's been their mission statement since then, and he would be definitely a guy that would fit that bill as well. We'll see about him. He would be a good candidate. The last one, former Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Sabres president Russ Brandon. Although nothing has been finalized, there have been rumblings in the last couple days that Jerry Cardinelli and Redbird Capital Partners may be leaning towards hiring the former Buffalo Bills president and GM Russ Brandon to assume the role as head of the XFL's football leadership. Okay. The former Bills and Sabres president has been serving as an advisor to Redbird Capital on XFL matters since late 2020. Some close to the situation feel that Redbird may be leaning towards hiring a football ops exec in a hybrid role similar to a commissioner, but with less authority. Of course, Brandon would fit that role. He has been in the loop on league matters for a while now in Redbird's ear. One of the interesting elements that Russ Brandon has brought on as an advisor before the XFL search for a CFO began late last year, presumably with Brandon helping to assist in that search. It may end up being him taking the job for himself. I don't know about that. And Brandon, the XFL, would be hiring someone who could serve dual executive roles and business and football side. Brandon has certainly a unique journey as a sports executive. The East Syracuse native's career started in baseball in the minor leagues before winning a championship in the front office for the Florida Marlins. He then transitioned to the Buffalo Bills. Spent 20 years initially running their business and marketing department for then-owner Ralph Wilson. Brandon was instrumental at the time in keeping the Bills in Buffalo by reaching a luxury seating threshold so that the team could remain in place that they started in 1960, even though they're talking about potentially Buffalo leaving again. His success helped him rise the ranks in Buffalo, and he eventually assumed the duties of CEO, president, and eventually general manager for 3 seasons with the Buffalo Bills. When Ralph Wilson passed in 2014, Brandon conducted the search for a new owner, and it led to the Pegula family paying $1.4 billion for the franchise. Once Pegulas took control, Brandon was given additional duties as president of the Sabres and the family's other properties in Pegula Sports and Entertainment. Now, would he be the wrong fit? So after being with the Bills for 2 decades, Brandon announced his resignation on May 1st, 2018. However, Russ Brandon's departure from PSE was not without controversy. A report released by Buffalo News shed some different light on Brandon's resignation. According to the report, 2 sources told Buffalo News that Brandon was stepping down because he had been subject to an internal investigation regarding workplace behavior and allegations of inappropriate relationships with female employees. That's not a female employee. That isn't female employees. Brandon emphatically denied the allegations. Brandon stated that he was always planning to step down after 20 years with the Bills franchise in a statement to the press, and that his resignation had nothing to do with the investigation. Brandon also stated that he put off resigning for a full year to fulfill his duties to the Sabres and Bills before departing. Tim Graham of Buffalo News reported that Bills and Sabres co-owner Kim Pegula informed Brandon on Friday that an internal investigation had been conducted regarding allegations of inappropriate relationships with female employees. Per Graham, Brandon denied any such relationships when confronted by Kim Pegula. The internal investigation showed, according to Graham, that Brandon was, quote, was deceitful about that and other job-related issues that were uncovered, close quote. The NFL at the time released a statement saying that they were satisfied with the Bills' investigation. There was no further action by the league. The NFL statement was supposed to clear the air on the matter, but the vagueness of the message left many feeling cynical. Since the controversy, Russ Brandon has not worked for any other sports team. Perhaps that's because of his own personal career choice, but the way things ended in Buffalo and his time away has led some to believe otherwise. Brandon had his detractors when he was in the NFL, especially as it pertained to the Bills' results on the field, but the allegations off the field could be a problem for the XFL's public relation if they hire Brandon in a prominent position. It runs in contrast to what an owner like Danny Garcia stands for. Of course, Mike Mitchell is only raising the issue because sources told him that Brandon was one of the candidates that Rambird had zeroed in, but there's no doubt that he has a respectable work resume for his business track record in Buffalo, but the hire could end up backfiring on the league. Those are the three names that Mike Mitchell has put out there. You have, it's either Rick Smith, it's Scott Pioli, or Russ Brandon. And I'm actually I'm gonna side with Mike here. It feels like potentially my guess that Russ Brandon might be the guy. I have a problem with the guy that was brought in to potentially help pick a successor, and then, hey, why don't you just pick me? It's very Triple H of him. But I don't know that for certain, and I don't know Russ Brandon, and I don't know any of the background. And remember, the XFL is all about second chances. The feel-good story, the one that works, the one that checks all of the boxes for me, is Rick Smith, without a doubt. I mean, the guy left to be with his ailing wife, successful career. I mean, the Buffalo Bills weren't very good in that time period that he was there. However, the Houston Texans were. I mean, look at all those players that he was part of. The Texans were a great franchise. And honestly, ever since he's left, they've kind of been in a free fall ever since he has been gone. He would be my pick. He checks all the boxes. Former player, coach, executive, general manager, worked up his way. NFL competition committee. Again, he's a black man. There gets you the diversity. There is not a lot of diversity in the NFL. Gets criticized for that. And I think something like bringing him in, especially with that feel-good story about, him leaving to be with his wife. Unfortunately, his wife passing away, but now he gets a chance to do something new and exciting. I think the media would be excited about that. We would be excited about that to bring him on board. A lot of people liked Oliver Luck. A lot of people like Jeffrey Pollack. And now that they're not going to be part of the league, there's really nobody left. And that league, 2020, the XFL, was successful. It was doing great. So they're going to bring in somebody. Everybody was like, Oliver Luck was a great hire. I think Rick Smith would be my number one choice. Number two would be Scott Pioli. Again, is his success due to Bill Belichick and his rings, or is it due to Tom Brady? I'll just throw that out there for all you. I mean, Brady did win a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. I got to see Belichick win a Super Bowl without Tom Brady to be convinced. But right now, is it Brady was it Brady or Belichick when it comes to that story? But still, Scott Pioli has the executive background. I mean, success in the NFL. Mainly, my biggest thing for Scott Pioli is the diversity stuff that he's working on. And the one thing that Oliver Luck was out constantly promoting the league, a guy like Scott Pioli could promote the heck out of the XFL. He would be my clear second choice in the matter because I think he would be able to, with his business connections and speaking connections, he would be a great ambassador to the league. I think Rick Smith would also be a great ambassador to the league. I mean, if I wanted to put, I don't know Rick Smith, but I do know Scott Pioli's work on the NFL Network, and he's great. He would be a great guy to pump that league out, and he's got the background, 5-time NFL Executive of the Year. The guy knows how to build a great organization, a cultured organization. I would not have a problem with Scott Pioli either. I mean, really, for me, Mike Smith is 1A, and Scott Pioli is like 1B. Though I would be happy with either of them, but they're very close. I think they both bring a lot to the table. Russ Brandon, I mean, the problem is, and in the current light, we've seen with Chucky getting fired in Las Vegas, that unfortunately, and I'm all for second chances, and there's nothing wrong with, you know what I mean? Like, people make mistakes, but he said he didn't make a mistake. We don't know what the situation is. I will say that if you've ever read Malcolm Gladwell's latest book, and I'm a huge fan of Malcolm Gladwell, and they talk about women, typically, statistically speaking, when typically women do not lie when it comes to things that happen to them. And this is just the data proving that it's like 95% of the time, it's not something that's made up. That's from Malcolm Gladwell's book. I didn't write it. I just thought it was an interesting thing in his latest book. I forget what the title is, but it came out in the last like two or 3 years or something like that. But I don't know the full story, and I don't know Russ Brandon. The problem with him is, number one, is that piece, especially in this climate, is going to be a big talking point for him as he comes out. And Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Sabres, I mean, what did they do? What have they done as far as, I mean, you're talking about Scott Pioli, legendary Bill Belichick, New England Patriots home run on NFL Network, home run. Rick Smith, great background, built a winning franchise, cut his career short to be with his family at a time of crisis. Now is getting a second chance to run the XFL with Danny Garcia and The Rock. Again, home run story. Russ Brandon, Buffalo Bills, good old boy network, potentially feel to it. I don't know. But Redbird Capital brought him in. Clearly, I would assume they've done their due diligence, and I would assume Danny and The Rock have done their due diligence when it comes to Russ Brandon. I don't know the guy. I would love if he became the person to just come on the show and just kind of just let it out. I mean, he could be great for all I know. I'm just, based on paper and not knowing any of them personally, I would say that I like the first two. Russ Brandon is the second, the other pick. But like Mike Mitchell is saying, I think he's prepping us for that. The guy is probably going to be Russ Brandon. We'll see how he comes out, what The Rock and Danny Garcia say about him if he is selected to be the guy. What are your thoughts? I mean, I'm going Rick Smith, Scott Pioli is right up there. I'm like, either one of those are home run hitters, and we got a great story, and I think guys can run the league successfully. To me, Russ Brandon feels just like another suit. I mean, Oliver Luck had, all of the diversity with the NFL Europe, and his son was a famous quarterback, and he was a quarterback in the NFL, and he was a lawyer. Russ Brandon doesn't kind of fill those things for me there. And I think, too, in my opinion, I think Redbird Capital they're just looking to build it up and get out. So this guy wouldn't necessarily be the final straw, but maybe just to get the league off the ground and things rolling before I think eventually Redbird Capital pulls out and then the league just kind of runs on its own. That's what I think the long-term vision. I don't think Redbird Capital is in the XFL for 10 years. I don't even think Redbird Capital is in the XFL for 5. I think that would be as long as they go. So what do you think? Leave us a message in the comments. Who is your pick? Or maybe there's somebody else we're missing. Maybe you're going to pick Tim Tebow. You want him to run the league, or some of you guys will say. So let us know in the comments, but it's going to be very interesting, and I really, truly believe that we're going to get one of these candidates before the end of the month is out.